Fortune cookies.
Fortune cookies.
Can't wait.
Let's see what it says. Oops. Right. Your heart is a place to draw true happiness.
What do you think?
Interesting. It's true.
I think we should use that at the end of the interview as your message to our viewers.
I think so too.
Fantastic.
Okay, let's put this there.
Well, I'm particularly excited to finally meet you. And I've been sampling and indulging in the wines that you make for so many years. And it's very exciting to finally meet you and make your acquaintance. And thank you for joining us for the Faces of Summer, installment 2022, right? And I know that you must be busy right now, preparing the cellar for your next harvest.
Yes, we are fairly busy, trying to get all containers loaded and getting the cellar clean and empty for the next harvest coming.
Very exciting times.
Yes.
Fantastic. Right, let's talk a little bit about you. Background, winemaker's background. I think that's always interesting. We don't get to meet winemakers a lot, especially in the industry, and the consumers never get to even see you. You're always in the background. So tell us a little bit, a small synopsis about your journey from Kempton Park to the picturesque Perdeberg Paarl.
So yeah, it's quite an interesting story. Grew up, raised in Kempton Park, and then my first year of university, I came to Stellenbosch. I wanted to study bioorganic chemistry, but then fell in love with the vineyards around the campus and the surrounding areas, and I decided, you know, what could be better than making wine? So I changed my major, and the rest is history, as they say. My journey started as assistant winemaker at Avontier Estate, then moved over to Allée Bleue, just to sort of further my knowledge and get a bit of more experience in the wine industry, and then I went to Perdeberg from there. So to the date, 7 years along. Still very happy. It's been quite an interesting journey. Taking over the more the boutique cellar and going into more of a different direction.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've started going more towards elegant fruit-driven wines,
Yeah.
and I think we're getting there, and we're doing quite well.
This concept of dry land farming is being used a lot in the wine industry, but still confuses us consumers. What does that mean? What does it translate to in terms of wine in a bottle?
Okay, so the dryland vineyards basically comes down to the vineyards are only rely on the rainfall. So if there's no rain, you know, I don't want to say they struggle, but they struggle to get water. But what makes the vines so interesting is that they actually go and find water. So if you look at the roots, they are fairly long and fairly deep in the grounds to go and find water and still produce the best quality grapes that we get.
Yeah.
It makes it also very interesting in the cellar because you get smaller berries, more concentrated fruit, better structure wines. The yield is not that big, so we work on an average of about 8 tons per hectare.
Yeah.
Which makes it also very interesting and more complex for us to work with.
So the quality is better?
Yes.
Then irrigated?
Yes.
Wow. All right. Okay. I think, let's just talk about the entire process from vine to wine. If we are to produce wine, it would start from the vineyard,
Yes.
all the way to the cellar. Would you please expand on that?
Okay, so basically...
and your philosophy towards it.
My philosophy, okay. So but it basically takes 3 years for a vine to become ready to start harvesting. So after 3 years, we'll obviously bring in the grapes, make sure that it's at optimal ripeness. Mm-hmm. So we've got a vineyard team that does that, the viticulturist and obviously the production manager. As soon as the grapes are ready to come in, we'll either hand harvest or machine harvest, depending on the style of wine that we're making. They come into the cellar in 500 kilogram bins. From there on, we'll get the processes ready, and then we'll de-stem and crush. If it's white, they will go either to the separators or straight to the press for the next process, and then the red grapes will go straight into the tank for the fermentation on the skins. The whites will then obviously be pressed. Some of the styles we do give a bit of skin contact, so it depends on what style we're making. And then from there we'll get the juices cleaned through a process called flotation. And then the next day we'll rack it off and then add the yeast for fermentation to start. On the reds we basically give 2 days cold soaking, just to get enough extraction from the skins, and then we'll start the fermentation process.
Just to get more color.
Yes, and some structure and flavors.
I like that word, style. It comes up a lot when we talk about wine. Stylistically, what is your philosophy when making wine?
Well, firstly, when you look at the juice, does it have the flavors that you know you might have? But it's also kind of a surprise, because what you might taste in the juice might not be what happens during fermentation. So depending on your temperatures that you can play around, the type of yeast that you use for a specific wine, you always get, it's a surprise. You never know, you know what you want to get, but you never know if you're going to get what you want. So for me, it's always
usually a pleasant surprise.
Yes, it's always a pleasant surprise. So the best part during harvest is when everything is fermenting and you get all these different flavors in the cellar. And you know, there's particularly sometimes just a specific flavor that comes out, and then you try and find which tank it is. And once you get it, you just savor that aroma that you get from the process, and it just makes it so much more fun because you get excited about what is going to be the end result.
Nice. Trust me. Right, let's do the tasting.
Good.
What did you bring for us?
Okay, so this is our Dryland Collection Courageous Old Vine Barrel Fermented Chenin Blanc. It's the 2021 vintage. So the Dryland Collection range we started in 2013. It was just to showcase what dryland vineyards can produce. So like I said previously, with the smaller berries, the more structured grapes that we can get, we can produce exceptional wines with those specific vineyards. Yeah. So the reason... Better concentration, better structure. So the Dryland Courageous Chenin Blanc is an old vine, so it was planted in 1985. So we've been preserving it for quite a while so that it could produce and give us the flavors that we get in the wine.
Amazing color.
This is specifically also one of my favorites. I think if people think about Perdeberg, they know the barrel fermented Chenin Blanc because it's been doing so well since we started this range. So definitely one of my favorites.
All right, fantastic. Let's talk about the wine. Particularly, I'm aesthetically inclined, so I do like the. Here's yours.
Thank you.
I do like the color. It's a beautiful color. But tell us a little bit more about it, right through to the palette and what you pair it with.
So it's got a pale gold color, which is perfect for the Chenin Blanc. As soon as the juice is cleared, we take it straight to the barrels where the fermentation process will start. Fermentation takes about 2 weeks, give or take, and then from there on we'll just leave it in the barrel. We leave the wine on the lees for about 8 months.
Please contact.
And then we don't do any stirring of the lees, and the wine doesn't go through malolactic fermentation because we want to preserve that natural acidity from the Chenin Blanc. And then from there on we'll get it ready for bottling, where it will stay in the bottle for another 6 months before we release it. So
Excellent.
Let's smell it.
Nice.
So it's got beautiful flavors of peach, some lychee, a little bit of vanilla on the back nose, and it's still a very nice fruity wine. So if you want to taste it.
It hasn't lost any of its fruit at all.
And it's got some very nice lemon and lime citrusy flavors, bit of pineapple you pick up there, and a little bit of vanilla, just to give you that full structure.
Yeah. A little bit of length too.
Yes.
Nice long wine stays in the palate for longer. So I would definitely say this is a wine for food.
Yes,
Right.
definitely.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, so my personal favorite dish that I do drink, I don't get to eat the dish quite a lot, but when I do, it's a Vietnamese cuisine, so it's a prawn lychee green curry.
Wow.
Yes.
And this you make at home?
Well, my husband does, yes.
Very lucky.
He's quite a good cook, but I've had it in a specific restaurant as well. So for me, this wine has got enough structure to carry something like a curry or a Cape Malay curry, any fish dish for that matter. It also goes well, so we would definitely pair it at home with some nice lionfish, king clip, or a nice buttery fish. But my favorite would definitely be the green curry.
Right, very exciting. I particularly like Chenin Blanc as a cultivar, as a varietal, because I also believe it's one of the best palate cleansers in the world. You must agree to that. So, but then once this project, the old vine project, came through, it was sort of like a new resurgence for Chenin Blanc. And not only because it's the most widely planted cultivar in South Africa, but also because then it started to give us such pretty wines. I mean, this wine, the color, which attracts me. You know, I'm a proper male. I get attracted to pretty things, and that's why it attracts me. But is it because of old vine that we get such a color?
In a way, yes, but I think it's also the practices that we do in the cellar. We try and preserve the color, we try and keep it as light as possible, yet as distinctive as possible. So it's sometimes difficult within the cellar to get it to the color that we want it to be, but this is a perfect example of what a barrel fermented Chenin Blanc would look like.
Yeah. You once mentioned that, and you said, you did say that it's a cliche, but that all wine starts at the vineyard. Does it apply with this one?
Of course.
Oh,
You have to, because it's an old vine, we do specific practices in the vineyard to make sure that the vine will produce optimally. So within the Old Vine Project, they have started to show the vineyard workers to exactly how they must prune the vines. You know, we also try and keep it as natural as possible. So not using either any or too much pesticides or herbicides. So we go more natural. So we release some bugs that maintain all the diseases in the vineyard. So yes, it definitely starts in the vineyard.
Yeah. All right, fantastic.
Thank you. Okay, so the Indira range pays tribute to the enduring battle that the old vine and the dryland vines have to produce the lovely fruit that we get into the cellar.
Interesting.
So the Indira Cape blend is a blend of Pinotage, Cabernet Sauvignon and Malbec.
Is that what you call Cape blend?
Yes, the Cape blend obviously consists mainly of Pinotage, which is a South African cultivar that we're very proud of.
Oh, speaking about that, you have recently, that particular wine has recently got an accolade for ABSA Paarl Top 6.
Yes, that's right. That's for the top 6 Cape blends in South Africa. So we're very proud of it. We're very happy that the wine could get this accolade for the farm.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Right, let's talk about the wine.
Each cultivar, we handle it separately and produce it separately, and it goes into barrels, mainly French oak barrels, for about 18 months. And then from there, it's quite a lengthy process to get to the blend. So it takes us about 2 weeks to go through all the barrels, and then we select the best barrels to go into this wine. It's 100% French oak, 100% new barrels, and we only make a select amount of bottles.
What is that? How many bottles do you produce a year?
Well, it's about 3,000 bottles, give or take.
Fantastic. Now, with the 2017, which was my favorite, this is the first time I'll be tasting the 2018. I've noticed that there's a difference in ratios, right, in your blending. And in my mind, I've always been told that wine is about consistency. But is it consistent when you change and why do you do it, the ratios?
It depends on the year specifically. So like I said, when we taste the wine, we'll select the best, and then depending on what is the best for that specific year, that will be the blend in the end. So we try to keep it as consistent as possible, but it's always year dependent and weather dependent.
As long as it keeps the flavor profile.
As long as it keeps the flavor profile, so we try and still keep it elegant, yet fruit-driven during all the seasons that we produce the wine.
Talk about elegant. Can you see the color on this thing?
So this has got a very nice, deep, dark red color. Perfect for this style of wine. And then on the nose, it's just a burst of flavors. So you get flavors of dark cherry, red cherries, raspberries, little bit of tobacco leaves, just coming from
ground.
And some fynbos.
But vanilla is there, it just doesn't disappear, does it? Fantastic. I'm thirsty, can you taste?
Of course.
Fresh, from 2018, accessible, length. I like the fact that it also lingers at the front of the palate. Why is that?
It's just the specific structure, the specific vineyards that we use that gives us that perfect structure that you get for the beginning of the palate, and then just keeps on lingering right to the back.
Excellent. Food pairing. Would I be wrong if I say tribe as a South African cuisine?
If you say so.
Or delicacy?
If you say so.
Really, I remember anything Pinotage really loves South African cuisine, like tribe, and most of us enjoy these on Monday, especially in Gauteng. We call it Mkhodu Mondays, and we do it with Pinotage and Cape blends. And that's my recommendation.
Yes, well, my favorite is definitely Karoo lamb shank. Just perfectly braised, like I said, again, my husband being the cook, that's definitely my favorite. but also a favorite for him will be a peri-peri chicken livers.
Right. In closing, any special words?
Yes, I think I've put my heart into this wine. I hope you find happiness in the glass.
Cheers.
Cheers.